So the AFC East has a team that's been on the cusp for years, a team that falters once December hits, a team that has everything but a quarterback, and a team that needs everything but a quarterback. Wait, what? What's going on, guys? Dick Support here, back to another video. Today is the start of my off-season previews, where, as you know, I go division by division talking about these teams, their top free agents, their first round pick, what they need, all that stuff. We're going to start with the AFC East and the Buffalo Bills, and some of this might surprise you or might not. We're going to talk about it. With the rise of salary cap, it does help some teams, and one team it does help is the Buffalo Bills. Now, they're still projected to be $14 million over the cap, but with the rising the salary cap, it does help them a little bit, and with them, Von Miller is definitely going to be a cap casualty. Another thing with them, Micah Hyde retired, and two other defensive backs are free agents, Rasul Douglas and Damar Hamlin. And we all know the story with Damar Hamlin, and he had a pretty good season this year, so probably going to try to re-sign him. Definitely want to try to get Douglas back, and one of their needs is definitely going to be in the secondary, because when you lose three pieces in the secondary, you definitely want to try to either re-sign or replace. They're going to have to replace Hyde, and we'll see what happens with the other two. Another thing, Amari Cooper is also a free agent, and Josh Allen and the receiving core are definitely going to need that other piece. I don't know if they need to go and get a number one. Depends on what they feel about Keon Coleman, and they just signed Shakir to a extension, so we'll see what they decide there, but definitely want to get another piece in that receiving core. And also on the defensive line, Smoot is a free agent, and might want to get some more meat on that defensive line, especially what Philadelphia did. And I wouldn't be surprised if other teams try to tune up both their offensive lines and defensive lines so that they don't have to worry about the trenches, because once again, with what Philadelphia did in that Super Bowl, it really was insane. But in terms of other free agents, Austin Johnson's a free agent, and so is Ty Johnson. Ty Johnson was a big part of that Buffalo Bills offense. He was a third down back. He was a guy that was great in both the run and the pass game. Definitely want to try to get him back, but there are definitely going to be teams that are going to want to sign him as well, so we'll see what happens there. And they're picking 30th overall, so we know they lost in the AFC Championship game, so they're picking pretty low in the first round, but we shall see what they do. It doesn't matter where you're picking a guy, as long as you get a good player. Let's not forget, TJ Watt was the 30th overall pick back in 2017. Miami, just like Buffalo, they're over the cap, but they're only over by $6 million, so it's just going to be restructuring and cap casualties. We'll see what they do, but that's pretty much the norm when you're over the cap. Their most interesting free agent to me is Calais Campbell. Now, does he retire, or does he go for one more season to chase a Super Bowl? I don't know what's going to happen there, but with Calais Campbell, anything goes. Javon Harlan is going to be their top free agent. Their safety doesn't look like they're going to franchise tag him, so he'll be on the open market, and there are teams that are going to want him. He's going to get a big-time deal, and we'll see from where. And Raheem Mostert is another one where I'm not sure what's going to happen with him, because he's had some good seasons with the Dolphins, but he is now in his 30s, and we know about running backs once they reach their 30s. I mean, we did see Derrick Henry have an amazing season, but that's the exception, not the norm. On the offensive line, I would definitely say that is one of their biggest needs. Last year, they lost Robert Hunt. No idea what's going to happen with Teron Armstead. And Liam Eckenberg, I'm hoping I said that right, he's a free agent. So the offensive line definitely is going to be something that they're going to want to look into, especially since with Tua, when he's on the field, he's great, but he has to stay on the field. And I would just say, defense as a whole, look to improve. They got a good first-round pick last year, looks like, in Chop Robinson, but we have no idea. Jalen Phillips can get back to the player that he was before the two injuries, and then Bradley Chubb didn't play at all last year. So it's going to be interesting what happens there. And then Kendall Fuller's a free agent. For the Dolphins, find the cap space where you can, and just find good players, especially since you're drafted in the top 15. They had the 13th overall pick. Just find some good players along this roster. You already have stars, and we'll see what happens with Tyreek Hill. I'm leaning towards he's going to stay a Dolphin until proven otherwise at this point, but right now, for the Dolphins, it's just all about getting over that December hump. They have just not been able to get over that. Is this the season where they do that? And if they don't, could this be Mike McDaniel's last season as their head coach? I'm just going to go over New England's free agents real quick. You got Jonathan Jones, Jacoby Brissett, Dietrich Wise, Joey Sly, and Austin Hooper, I would say, are their top free agents. But that's not even the big story with New England. It's the fact they have $120 million in cap space. So they could do a whole lot in free agency and also in the draft. They have the 4th overall pick. They could get the top offensive lineman. They could even get Travis Hunter. Say if quarterbacks go like 1-2 or 1-3 or 2-3, whatever, they could potentially be the team that gets Travis Hunter. And really, for the Patriots, you have Drake May, who showed a lot of promise when he was the starting quarterback in 2024. Now it's just about getting the pieces around him. So, offensive line and get him a number 1 receiver. Those are the top 2 things you have to do. And then if you can do that, everything else you get is just going to help this football team. This team just needs good players. But of course, offensive line, number 1 receiver, and then just find good players where you can find people that are going to fit this team and fit the kind of player that Mike Vrabel wants as the team's new head coach. New York Jets, priority number 1. Who is your starting quarterback? We know Aaron Rodgers is most likely not going to be there next year. So, do they go free agency? Do they go the draft? What are they going to do? I haven't the foggiest idea. Nobody has any idea what the Jets are going to do. They have $18 million in cap space, so probably going to do a little bit of restructuring, maybe cut a player or 2. I'm not sure, but number 1 priority, figure out your quarterback. Number 2 priority, shore up your offensive line. Maybe add a tight end as well. That's what I would say. But really for the Jets, they have a good team, but it's just all about getting good quarterback play, and maybe they can make a run at the playoffs because a team with Quinnen Williams, Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, and others just should not be struggling to even compete for a playoff spot year in and year out. They need to get a quarterback. It's that simple. And the last thing for the Jets, what's going to happen with Hassan Reddick? Hassan Reddick, all the drama last year after he was traded to the Jets, how much is that going to affect what teams think of him once free agency starts? Once again, I'm not entirely sure. We're not going to know until it happens. And that's all I got to talk about with the AFC East. Next up, as always, going to be the NFC East. And I'll see you guys then.